yes, hi, and welcome to the Dark Knight Conspiracies. Olympus has fallen. Recap. Episode 31. Stealth Bomber. Mission complete. So, some of you people might have been expecting some kind of update last night. Experience has taught me sit back, wait a little while, wait for information to come out as you go along, because initial reactions probably 80% of the time are wrong until you sit back and get the full picture. And that's what I did. And lo and behold, the digital warriors went to work on social media and the internet, and they didn't disappoint. So let me start out with, let's make no mistake about this. This was a false flag event, what happened at the Capitol yesterday. There's videos out there, and again, I encourage everybody, go look this all up for yourself. It's all out there. The internet, Gateway Pundit, Breitbart, everybody's reporting that this was Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and they've got the photos and videos to prove it. We saw people breaking windows. Again, backpacks, dressed in black. Not looking like your ordinary Trump supporters. But, of course, Trump supporters got blamed for it. So, videos are out there that show police actually opened up the barricades and let these people come in. Now, the initial reports, and I was watching this live, folks. Many people don't have the luxury that I do. I had a TV going, two computer monitors going, and a third one for research. So I had the news on the TV, C-SPAN, which was covering the House vote, and C-SPAN 2, which was covering the Senate vote. So I got to see all this live. Now, initial reports were, oh, the Capitol's been breached. People have gotten into the building. Well, okay, I go back to the video. It shows the police let these people in. They were reporting that the police were battling, and yeah, okay, there's some videos of the police battling people, but that was after the fact that they let them through the gates. And then we come to find out a woman was shot and killed by Capitol Police. And quite frankly, my opinion, she was gunned down. Now, I wonder what the reaction would have been if she wasn't a white woman in the Air Force. I wonder if that would have changed the story. Because you can bet these DC police aren't going to face any type of charges like we've seen with these unarmed black people being gunned down. There was no reason to have guns drawn. We keep hearing guns were drawn. I have yet to see a video outside of the Capitol Police of anybody that was flashing a gun. That being said, my previous video talked about these tunnels. And I was like, So they were all evacuated. Later, the reports were it sounded like everybody was escorted to the basement, but not the tunnels. I know that these tunnels go all throughout the city. If there was such a dire threat, why didn't they use these tunnels to get out to certain parts of the cities and in office buildings where they're said to lead to? Interesting. And it goes back to, well, maybe they were shut down and didn't have access to, or maybe they knew what might have been waiting for them there. Hence my previous episode. Who knows? So then we got to see the videos of these violent protesters walking through the Capitol, taking selfies, waving their American flags. By the way, this is the people's house. We pay for this with our taxpayers' money. We have a right to be there. Do we not? But where was the vandalism? Oh, they said their offices were destroyed and everything, but you've seen the photos of these people, again, dressed in black, wearing masks, backpacks, and of course we had Viking Man show up. Well, photos are out there. He's been seen at Black Lives Matter protests, Antifa protests. He's also been seen at some Trump rallies. You know, the only place I haven't seen him is the Minnesota Vikings home game. That being said, he's got some interesting tattoos on his body, and if you research the internet, you can find these things. I'm not going to bore you with it because I got a lot to go through here. So then everything was getting locked down. National Guard called in. A lot of stories about who called them in and what. I'm not gonna get into that muck. Now, what was interesting as I was watching all these live reports, we saw the debate start. We had the objection from the House and we had the objection from the Senate. Both parties convened to their houses separately. And, you know, this is, unfortunately, unless you have two TVs or two monitors, or one monitor with two screens going at the same time, you had to watch these separately. So the House was being televised on C-SPAN, and the Senate was being televised on C-SPAN too. Well, I'm watching both these things simultaneously, and I noticed something. After Speaker Pelosi and Vice President Pence got everything underway and started the debates, they both simultaneously left their benches and were replaced. And I want to say it was 5 to 10 minutes after that all the ruckus started. Now, I think that's interesting for a reason. I go back to, this was a planned false flag. They knew it was coming. Remember Monday or Tuesday when Senator Grassley either mistakenly put out the comment that Mike Pence wouldn't be there or leaked it on purpose? Who knows? But it's funny how he backtracked it. So was there another plan in place and then they had to go to plan B? I don't know. It's interesting. Now, when everything got settled down, they didn't reconvene till around, I think the Senate went on about 10:30 at night and the House went on at 11:30 at night. Now, I watched the Senate first because they were the first ones to come on. And what was interesting was the rhetoric I heard, because prior to the debate, oh, the Republicans, they were all fired up. They were ready to produce all their evidence and get this thing going. So then we have the supposed terrorist attack, as they're calling it now. I listened to Leader McConnell and Minority Leader Schumer's opening comments. They called these people thugs, rioters, domestic terrorists, insurrectionists. And I'm thinking, wow. So who were the people in Portland, in Seattle, in New York, in Chicago, in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, in Los Angeles? Who were these people that looted, robbed, and burned down these businesses and these cities, causing billions of dollars of damage? Where was that rhetoric? I seem to remember mainstream media and nobody in Congress speaking out about it. These were peaceful protests. For Christ's sakes, you had CNN broadcasters televising live with fires in the background. Nothing to see here. These are peaceful protests, but yet outside of a broken window and maybe some damaged offices, these were rioters? These were domestic terrorists? Go figure. So where was all this rhetoric, huh? This just shows you the hypocrisy, folks. We're playing on two different levels here. Two sets of rules. And that's going to be significant later on in this program, the two sets of rules, because I got an interesting twist to that. But now I want to get to what the CUE board often referenced as a stealth bomber. Now, I watched a lot of alternate media yesterday, and there were a lot of people that started out against Pence. There were a lot of people that believed in Pence. I, for one, you can check my previous episodes, and I've got people that can back me up on this. I never believed in him. I thought the guy had skeletons in his closet, and you can go down the rabbit hole and find it. But the thing that got me going on him was the Bush Sr. funeral. He was the only Republican that got one of those secret envelopes. And for those of you that don't know about that, the videos are out there. You can go look it up. So that raised the red flag with me. Now, again, 4 years watching Trump. We all know, my opinion, people have made deals and they've played a part in this movie. And I'm calling this a movie. We are watching a movie. Hence The Matrix. They fill a role and then they leave. And in the meantime, while they're doing something good, Trump bashes them as being a bad person. Optics are everything, again. So, a lot of people right away went off instead of taking a step back and just thinking about the 5D chessboard that Trump plays. People were apologizing for supporting Pence. People came out calling him a traitor. I'm in that group. But as I sat back and thought about this, the key phrase Trump was saying, I hope Mike Pence does the right thing. And according to everybody out there, well, Pence did the wrong thing. But is it possible by doing the wrong thing, you actually could have done the right thing? And I'm going to explain that in a moment, because I want to go down this rabbit hole for a little bit. Think of this as a bank robbery, because we all know what happened on November 3rd and since then. So let's say you get a tip about an individual, and I'll put this on a scale so it's just not a normal person going into a bank and getting $2,000. Let's say somebody's planning a bank heist for 10, 20 million. And you get a tip about one of the individuals that's going to pull the job off. What do? You've got good sources, you've got wiretaps, surveillance. Do you go in and arrest him before he commits the crime, knowing that there's other conspirators involved? Or do you let him commit the crime in order to catch all of them? Certainly you don't interrupt him while he's in the bank committing the crime, because chances are you might not get everybody involved. You wait till he commits the crime, you follow him to the hideout, and chances are you get the rest of the individuals there. Is that what Mike Pence did yesterday? How do you catch all these people conspiring to commit the crime? You let them finish it out. If Mike Pence would have done the right thing in most people's opinion and kicked this back to the states to recertify, would you have gotten everybody involved? You might have if some people talked and flipped, but would you have gotten everybody? Now, what did we see, for those of you that watched, in the beginning? Republicans were fired up. Senators arguing, yelling. There was applause everywhere for everybody. Then when they reconvened after this moment, which I do believe was staged, I think only a select few knew about it. I don't think everybody was in on it. What did we see when they all came out? Kumbaya. People started retracting their objections. Then we saw the votes. I think Arizona was the first one in the Senate, 94-6. The House was like 1-something to 2-something. Then later on in the evening, it was 93 to 7. And 130 to, again, 250 something. Here's what they're crafty about. Why this was all planned. They knew the public was watching at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They didn't want the public to see the evidence come out. So what did they do? They staged this false flag. Lo and behold, they passed Biden through with flying colors throughout the night, which ended at 5 a.m. You tell me how many millions of people are going to stay up and watch this through 5 a.m. This is what they do in the darkness. And we're coming into the light. So, my theory on this, and Linwood tweeted that Trump was walking into a trap yesterday. And everybody was on social media once this all started saying, yep, Trump got played. Trump walked into a trap. Well, who actually got trapped? Did Mike Pence set the trap for Congress? Because they're all on record now. The crime has been completed. They certified a false election. They can't go back now and change their mind. So by doing the wrong thing, Pence actually did the right thing. Now, whether or not he was conscious of it or not is a different story. He still could be a bad dude and didn't make the deal, and Trump just played him. Or he did make the deal. Either way, my opinion, this worked out for the best. So let's go to today's just quick headlines. 6,500 National Guard activated in D.C. for 30 days. Bomb squad was called in to a suspicious package at the U.S. Ulysses S. Grant Memorial. That's interesting, and it could be a coincidence, and I'm going to get into that in a few minutes. So what do we hear now that the Democrats have won the presidency, the House, and the Senate? What are we hearing? Are we hearing anything about passing all these new stimulus bills and, how we're going to move forward with an economic plan and this? No. They're now talking about removing Trump from office with only 2 weeks to go under the 25th Amendment. Why? There's only 2 weeks to go. You won everything. I'll tell you why. They're scared. They know they haven't won anything. And they know Trump holds all the cards. And he's about getting ready to play some. And I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of what I think is the Trump card. But we may not see it until later. And it's possible he might have already briefed certain members in Congress about this card. Now, most people don't realize, if you listen to these judges and the politicians, they're big on the Constitution, aren't they? Oh, we got to follow the Constitution. We got to follow the Constitution. This violates the Constitution. Well, here's my question to you. And most people probably don't realize this. Which Constitution are they talking about? Are they talking about the original one? Or are they talking about the illegal one? Where am I going with this? Well, I'm about to show you. Most people don't realize there's 2 U.S. constitutions. And I'll leave the links here. And lo and behold, it's connected to the Vatican Bank and to Britain. Folks, we never won the war of 1776. And like I've said prior, the Fed and the IRS, these are not governed by our country. These are individual entities. These are corporations. The United States is a corporation. We are not the republic we think we are. So how did this all come to be? And again, you won't find this in your history books. So it says here, since 1871, the United States President and the United States Congress has been playing politics under a different set of rules and policies. Sound familiar? American people do not know there are two constitutions in the United States. The first by our founding fathers, and then the second in 1871. And you can read through this whole article and do your own discernment. Now, for those of you that don't believe this, I'm going to go to the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. This was filed and passed through Congress after the Civil War and President Lincoln's assassination. What this did is it took a 10-mile square radius within Washington, D.C., and made it the District of Columbia. Now, what did that do? It made them a corporation. The best way I can explain this to you is, let's say, let me use Chrysler as an example. They have their headquarters in Michigan, but they have plants in each 50 states. Even though those plants work individually within those states, they're still owned by the corporation in Michigan. This is what this act did. The states are owned by the District of Columbia. They are not free states. It's a corporation. It's a business. This is why income taxes are able to take place. Our original Constitution was only 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights. Everything after that was done through this act. I think there's 33 amendments now. They're all illegal. They're operating under their Constitution, not the Constitution of the Republic. Now, everybody's saying Trump's out of options. He's got to act fast. No, he doesn't. I mean, I was doing it last night. I do think he has a short window. But if you were going to dismantle everything in government, and I'm talking agencies, what would be the quickest way to do it? Now, Trump touted in his 9/11 speech that he signed something so fantastic and so great that took effect on January 1st. Yet we never heard any major announcement other than most people speculated it was the transparency of, medical prices. I don't think that's what it was. What if Trump disbanded the United States corporation and gave all power back to the states. Now, most people would say, well, how can you do that? Well, you just don't do it with an executive order. My research has shown me you actually have to go through The Hague, which is an international court in Europe. And lawyers representing each state have to file separately, succeeding from the United States corporation, thus dismantling the business. Now, what makes me think this happened? Because against all odds, Trump combined the Fed and the U.S. Treasury together. The U.S. Treasury is a government-owned facility. So how did he get a private company to combine with a government company? These are my conspiracy theories. I'm not saying this stuff is fact. Do your own discernment. But boy, if you wanted to blow up the deep state and drain the swamp, which goes back to you let them commit the crime, you don't want to get a handful. You want to get everybody. How do you dismantle everything? Because we saw by the votes, 90% of Congress is now corrupt. You dissolve the corporation. We might not know this till later on down the road. This is just my theory. Now, until then, he's still going to have to arrest these people. Now, some people think Trump's given up. It's over. He's walking away. He did make an announcement this morning. There's going to be a peaceful transition of power on January 20th. Some people said, well, Trump's given up. He's thrown in the towel. He couldn't pull the trigger. What is he talking about, really? Who's in power now? Biden's going to be president. Democrats have the House. Democrats have the Senate. Is he talking about there's going to be a peaceful transition back to him? Possible. And I picked up something else from his Georgia rally speech on Monday. When he was talking to Georgia, he says, I really don't want to come back here, but I'm going to have to. And go look it up on YouTube. He says, I'm going to have to. Folks, if he dissolved the U.S. corporation, this is the trump card, in my opinion. This means the November 3rd election is fraudulent. Everything after 1871, presidents, members of Congress, it's all illegal and fraudulent. Laws, courts. You want to talk about dismantling everything without firing a single shot? That's how you do it. Just my opinion. And for those that, and by the way, I just want to add, if people that think Trump gave in and is throwing in the towel, you're seeing it now. They are not going to let him walk away into the sunset. They want this man jailed. They want this man executed. They are not going to give this up. He's got no choice but to fight. And just keep that in the back of your mind. He's not done. Now, I want to go to the censorship that Donald Trump is facing, and I want to go to a CUE post on 4/14. It talks about Red 1, POTUS Twittis removal. That's partially done. Facebook and Instagram have already taken them off. Red 2, Central Communication Blackout, Continental U.S. Well, that's going to be the emergency broadcast system and probably the internet, TV, cable, everything goes down. Now this one is interesting, and this gets into my Pence theory. Red 3, class movement, Pelosi or Pence. I think he's deflecting blame away from Pence, making the deep state think he's in with them. I really think Pence did the right thing by doing the wrong thing, if that makes sense. Red 4, movement of military assets, 10th Mountain, 1st Marine. That's when stuff's going to go down. And then you got Red 5, Red 6, Castle Rock, which I believe is the White House. Now I want to go back to something interesting here. And by the way, another news bulletin, there was a bomb squad called out to D.C. of a suspicious package. And guess where it was found? Could be coincidence. At the Ulysses S. Grant Memorial. The person who signed the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. This is something else interesting. Congress suggested moving the capital out further west, but Ulysses S. Grant refused to consider the proposals. And for many of you that don't know, there's been a lot of Masonic symbolism with how the buildings are in Washington, D.C., and you can go find this stuff. The buildings are positioned in a way that it shapes Washington, D.C. in the shape of an owl. We all know what that means, for those of you following me. It's very possible, when this is all said and done, that there may be a new Washington, D.C., say out in Colorado area. Just some stuff I'm hearing. In that the current D.C. will be relics, if not destroyed, by however means. Just my thoughts on it. And in closing, I just want to say, for all the people that supported Trump and the movement and the patriots that are getting backlash from their family, their friends, their neighbors over what transpired yesterday, my advice to you is the best way to explain this to them, the easiest way to explain this to them is, as I said previously, you don't arrest somebody until after they finish the crime. You don't arrest them in the middle of it. Those are my thoughts. And again, the religious people out there, make no mistake, there's a bus traveling and the patriots are on it, but God is driving the bus. Even though he might have his hands on Donald Trump, one way or the other, God is steering us in these directions. And he's going to come to that fork in the road. We're either going to go down the light road or we're going to go down the dark road. It's all up to you. Get on your knees, pray, open your Bible, give yourself to God. It's my best advice. Because ultimately, he is the only one that can fix this and intervene for us against all odds. He has the power. So until next time, stay strong, stay safe, stay vigilant, stock up on your food and water because this could get ugly in a very short time. And until next time, same bat chime, same bat channel. Good night.